This weekend we celebrate the third Sunday of Advent, Gaudete Sunday, which translated means let us rejoice. Prior to the new Roman calendar, there was a 40-day fast that would have started at St. Martin's Day and been a 40-day fast leading up to the celebration of Christmas, the Nativity of Christ. And that would have been like a lighter Lent period. So they called it the St. Martin's Day fast period. And in the middle of that period, just like with Laudate Sunday in Lent, Gaudete Sunday, or Gaudete Sunday, however you want to pronounce it, is an opportunity for us to kind of look back and reflect on the first half of our time of penance and preparation. And so an opportunity to put away those things we're fasting from and to see that we are called to rejoice every moment of every day for what it is we are preparing for. As we heard of in last weekend's gospel from St. Matthew, we heard of that voice crying out in the wilderness, "Prepare ye the way of the Lord," that voice being the last prophet, John the Baptist. And we hear from him in prison today, again from the same gospel of Matthew, sending out his own disciples to Jesus and trying to figure out, is this truly the Messiah? Is he the one that is long awaited for the people of God? And Jesus came, and his response to them, as normal, was not a straightforward response. He wasn't saying, "Yes, it's me!" No, he didn't do that, because that would have been the prideful human thing to do. Instead, what does he do? He quotes the prophet. He quotes the book of Isaiah when he says, "Who was it that you were looking for? Go and tell them what you hear and see. The blind regain their sight. The lame walk, lepers are cleansed, the deaf hear, the dead are raised, and the poor have the good news proclaimed to them." He's quoting the book of Isaiah. Why? Because the majority of the prophecies about the Messiah, the coming Messiah that we know of as Jesus Christ in hindsight, the majority of those prophecies came from the book of Isaiah. And so Christ then, as he says, came to fulfill the law and to fulfill the prophets, not to abolish the law or the prophets, takes upon himself those prophecies preached years before. But he also tells us to be patient. What is it that we are waiting for? What is it that we are longing for in our lives? And how do we allow ourselves to prepare for that day? I can remember growing up, my sister Jennifer, her birthday was Christmas Eve. And I'll never forget the day that she was born, because we had to wait a full day and a half on Christmas, like the next day, to open our presents that Christmas. She came home in a stocking on December 26th. I never knew patience more than as a 3-year-old being told you have to wait another 36 hours to open your presents from Santa Claus. If you want patience, test the patience of a 3-year-old at Christmas. But in that, I saw, in hindsight, not in the moment, a real lesson that we are each called to learn in our lives. Great things wait for those who allow themselves to be patient to receive those gifts. If we allow ourselves to just rip everything open and just jump to the end, we miss the journey. But in the journey, my brothers and sisters, of life is where we find the joy of the kingdom proclaimed for us and lying right in front of us as well. That this season of Advent isn't just a season to skip over to get to Christmas. And I realize, yet again, I'm sounding like a bah humbug. That's not my purpose, I promise. But instead to get us to really look at why we do what we do with our lives. As I talked about the other day, we so many times are just stuck on autopilot. We just do the same things as we've always done them in the same order. And when something comes up, we get upset because something has upset our order. But many times in life, the Lord gives us opportunities to see that we can always grow, that we can always learn, that we can always understand a little bit more about the nuances of our faith, about the why we do what we do, not just that we do what we do. It is in Advent and in Lent where I have to justify wearing this color as a man, because it is not pink. We do not wear pink, we wear rose. And this is the worst dad joke you will ever hear. We do not wear pink, we wear rose, because Jesus did not pink from the dead. He rose from the dead. Worst joke you will ever hear, and you'll hear it from me twice a year. But it's very true that the colors that we wear bear some significance in the why we do what we do. We see something different in the royal purple to the pink, to the rose that we wear. That yes, we are here to prepare the way of the Lord, but we're also supposed to stop and take notice of what's going on in our lives around us. To take notice of the joy in our families. Yes, even the families that don't always like each other. Even the families that tend to fight about the most small minutia of details. How do we find joy in a family? How do we find joy in our workplace? Even if you hate your job and hate everybody there, how can you find joy present in your workplace? In your church community? Even if you hate everybody that's looking at me, which is everybody hopefully, not that you hate them, but that they're looking at me. Even if you hate everybody in this church, how do you find joy being in their presence? It's because of the joy to the world, that Christ child, that we come to celebrate each and every year. That is where our joy comes from. That many times in life, we are patient for those things that we look forward to, those small events that we see as these awesome things to look forward to. I'm one of those people that looks forward to my next trip or looks forward to my next event. And once it gets there, it's over before I even realize that it's happened. The joy was in the long-awaikedness of actually getting to the event, and then the event is over. And it's that way many times with us in life, that when we put our trust and our faith and our hope and our joy in something that is not eternal, its gain and its result too will be fleeting, will be quick, will be not eternal. But when we put our hope in the Lord, when we put our faith in Jesus Christ as the Son of God, who is the way, the truth, and the life, gives us an opportunity to enter into something that we cannot witness in this world without Him. And that is truth. Not your truth and my truth, but the truth. At all times, at all places, in all people. And so as we come to celebrate this great Sunday of joy, may we reflect during this Mass on those gifts that God has given to us where we're called to find joy. In the laughter of a child, in the Christmas cookies given to us by our grandparents, in the joy of hearing a beautiful voice proclaiming the top of their lungs that Jesus is Lord. May we reflect on those things. May we then emulate those things and live them out in our own lives and truly recognize in the joy to the world in Jesus Christ something that we can't gain in this world, but that can only be promised for us in the life to come.